Hey, this is Dave Levy, and I'm drawn to the Beatles. I thought I'd start this little odd series of videos by drawing the back cover of Paul McCartney's first solo album, which was just called McCartney. And the back cover, along with the front cover, really tell you what you're going to get with this record. It's very lo-fi, it's very personal, it's like a family album or a snapshot of his life at the time. And really in sharp contrast to the last official album the Beatles put out as a band, which was Abbey Road. And I can see how fans at the time, first generation Beatle fans would have looked at that as a real head scratcher. Here's the guy who was a key architect of that side two of Abbey Road, where all the songs flowed together. It's this pop symphony masterpiece, and before that, he's doing Hey Jude and just a whole host of latter day Beatles singles. Paul's pretty much running the band, and with all the ambition he can bring to it in that period, and to then start a solo career like this would have no doubt been perplexing, to first generation fans. But one of the things I appreciate is not being a first generation fan. It means I'm not as old as some of them, which is good, because I'm getting old enough without being first generation. But from my vantage point and that of my friends, we were able to hear the music without that baggage of comparison of wait, but this isn't that, and he should be doing this. We saw, when you're jumping in at age 13, like I was, in the late 80s, to a whole career of McCartney post Beatles, you see that okay, this is just something he did in terms of his whole career didn't follow this path. It wasn't all homespun recordings that were low fidelity, that were this about family and home and the simpler things. Like he also did stadium rock and quirky crazy stuff like the second McCartney album, the McCartney 2, and polished things like Tug of War. So you get to experience it as part of a body of work and not give it the baggage of this has to be this important statement that he owes the world. Here's this one of the chief, architects of the Beatles, and he owes us a grand statement. Well, he didn't have that in mind, in 1970, and he gave us something authentic and honest instead. He gave us a insight into how he was feeling. Songs about his new marriage, the lovely Linda. Things like Every Night that just show how he wants to just stay in, how he doesn't want to go out and do the club scene or just be seen by anyone. He really it's a time of reflection and staying home. Very personal stuff. And The Melancholy of Junk. Man, We Was Lonely, another one that's, really him just bearing his soul. And Maybe I'm Amazed, where he's literally saying, to Linda, you got me through this. This is a dark time, and I'm coming out thanks to you. So like that's as personal as any singer-songwriter I can think of, including John Lennon. But with Paul, we have this notion of he's not really telling us what he's thinking, and he's not, it's a little more subtle, because when you hear Paul bare his soul, you hear yourself in it. That it's not just a person singing about their own troubles. It's very universal, and he has this way about him that takes you inside the song and allows room for you too. It's a gift he has, and it in some ways it makes it less obvious, that he's being as personal as he is. It's a really wonderful record, and while it's not a statement, a grand statement, in a sense, it's an anti-statement, right? Because he's really saying, this is what I feel like doing right now. It's going to be what I release, and tough, love it, hate it. It's here. This is what I'm doing. And of course, he's going to do something else the next year and give us Ram, which is a far more typical, the typical masterpiece that you might have been looking for, from Paul in that first year. Although obviously a lot of the critics at the time didn't notice that either. But that's a whole other story. We'll save that for another time. It's as authentic and honest as anything anyone's put out in the history of rock music. And it's a treat. And I can't help but feel that optimism and that sense of it's going to be okay, you know, that Paul was channeling to kind of pull himself through as he did these recordings and released it to the world. Like, you feel that it's kind of still there in the DNA of this record, and I'll always appreciate it. And I hope you enjoyed this little drawing that's now finished, crude but heartfelt, I hope, just like the album itself. Thanks for watching.